Come on this side, Juliet.
Oh.
You gotta be over here. You don't want them to see you on the camera?
No, I'm good.
You know she done put on a lipstick and flipped up her hair.
You know I done flipped up my hair, put my lipstick on.
Oh. So what you putting your glasses on?
No, I don't have to.
I was gonna say we're not reading anything. I mean,
This your second
I'm just so
podcast.
used to.
I'm gonna slide over some so I can share the camera with you just a little bit, okay? But don't get too familiar with this spotlight, with this limelight. That lighting looks good.
We look like sister and brother.
Sister and brother.
Don't we Gladys?
You mean you're like my older sister?
Me and your sister are the same age.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
She's a year older than me. Your brother, is he older than me too?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm the baby almost. I would have been the baby next to the baby.
Right.
Well, Juliet, I was last, okay?
I would have been next to the
To
baby.
the baby, right.
Well, you know, she was pregnant before me. She miscarried.
Did she?
Yeah. So if that baby had lived, I may not be here today.
Yeah.
But I could have been that baby.
Could have been.
Oh,
Was it a girl or boy? You don't know.
She don't know. All that matters is that I'm here. Hey, girl, hey. You gonna say it?
You know I'm not used to this. I look
Hey,
at
girl,
it, look
hey.
like
Hey,
I'm
boy,
talking
hey.
to us. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, okay, let me handle it. Hey, girl, hey. Hey, boy, hey. Listen, I'm about to slice up some tomato and avocado because I need a little something to munch on. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart, and this is the Facebook Live version of So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit,
White shit.
gay shit, and everything in between. Juliet, I didn't know you cursed.
I don't. You just made me do
I
that.
didn't make you do that. I just pointed to you.
And what was I supposed to say? I know the saying.
You could have just said, well, I don't.
And I like
don't
the
know.
other saying, good day.
Good day, thinkers, thought. Well, that's a part of that. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart, and this is the Facebook Live version of So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black, shit,
You didn't want me to
gay,
Mm.
shit, white shit, gay, and everything in between. Listen. This is my mom's friend Juliet.
Well,
Oh, that's your rich white woman voice?
no, I'm just nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't
Well,
know.
get comfortable. Do you drink wine?
Yeah, you got some?
We don't have any. But just get comfortable. You want a bottle of water?
No, that's not. I'll drink my
Unless you
tea.
want tea.
Oh. How much sugar is in that?
Oh, come on, Craig. Do we have to go there? You know,
I
I'm
was
just
just
learning.
asking.
I'm only learning.
Oh,
I
okay.
just watched the Celery movie live the other day, so I'm
What celery movie?
not movie.
Oh, my
but-
video.
Yeah, your video.
We're about to do a podcast, but before I do that, I'm going to slice up some avocado and tomato because, you know, when I come home, there's nothing to eat, okay? Before we do that, let me show my gifts. Where my gifts at? My mother,
Well, I'll put them in the kitchen.
she trying to steal my gifts.
I am not.
I just came from the Queen's Supreme Court live brunch. Well, since you're up, can you hand me those tomatoes? And no, I'll get it because I need to wash my hands. Listen, I just came from the Queen's Supreme Court live brunch. My mother went too. When I tell you the people came with some nice little gifts, came with some nice little gifts for me, I'm about to slice up my avocado and my... You didn't like the candy yap? Then you could have given that to me. Bring it to me tomorrow. She coming to the show. All right, so look. Yap came with this card, right? Now this is the time for you to get comfortable, okay? So you're not nervous by the time we start talking. She came with this card, And it was so nice. So I opened up the card first, right? I don't know why it's not a say it in a card, greeting card, but I appreciated it nonetheless. And she wrote inside it. And she wrote, look, at the top of the card, she put, you want to read that? Read the top.
If you don't like the gift, give it to Keon. That's the guy who I said was
Right.
cute. Whispers to myself, he's so picky.
She had the nerve to write that in my card. If you don't like it, if you don't like the gift, give it to Keon. Whispers to myself because he's so picky. Then she wrote down here, she put, Craig, you are super talented. I just enjoy hearing you speak. I love teasing you as much as I adore how you encourage others. Look, she said, encourage others, because she told me today she doesn't drink the celery juice. She said, I ain't doing that. My fellow Baltimorean, you are the
it.
That's not what that says.
Oh, what is that?
The shit. So anyway, so she gave me this card. So I read the card, and then I opened up the bag, and guess what? Two of my favorite. She had 2 bags of these candies in here, right? 2 bags. I lit up because I'm out of candy at home. Like I was gonna order some more from Amazon, but she got me some. Then she got me this nice bottle of cologne. Look at this nice bottle of cologne. What y'all know about Bulgari? What y'all know about Bulgari?
Nothing.
She nice. Smell my neck.
Oh, okay.
Smells good. But you know, I smelled it all the way over there.
That's
That's
because
what that was.
That's because this is good cologne. And see, when you buy that cheap stuff, you can't smell it.
Oh, I smelled it when I came in.
Yes. And then she got me this. You'll have enough to leave getting all on the phone, but you about to go high here. I'm just playing.
You ain't playing.
I'm just- And then she got me this t-shirt. Look at this t-shirt. I love this t-shirt.
Best Craig ever. Best Craig ever.
Best Craig ever. The best Craig ever. Period. I cannot wait to wear that. Then my girl Lori Jeter, and I know y'all see my edges coming in. Oh, he's up right now. we ain't recording yet.
Oh, we're not?
No. I mean, we're on the live, but we're not recording on the podcast yet. Then my girl Lori Jeter, she brought me some stuff that she made for me.
Okay, I will.
Catch a little burlap sack. Catch a little burlap sack. Fiji, but it's not Fiji water. This is shampoo, niece. Now, I don't know if she put her lips on this and drank out of this and then put my shampoo in here. I don't know if that's what she did. I don't know if she, disinfected or not. But anyway, she made me some black soap, and it has like peppermint. You want to smell it? And don't put your nose on it, because I don't know if she put her lips on that part. Okay.
That smells good.
I know it's like peppermint, and and you wash your hair, and it should stimulate your follicles. All right. So she got me that, and then she made me. Now, if she said she used to sell this stuff, now I don't know if you have to buy it and she put it in a container like this or not. I don't know. But then she made me some black soap. And it says, it's on it. That's what it says on there. Look at that. You want some black soap? I can give you one of these loaves.
You can?
Yeah, it's a bunch of them in here. Mom, you want one?
You want one?
She trying to get my...
I wanted the shea butter.
She trying to get my shea butter.
But you know what?
Look, Lori did put it in one of her Tupperware containers from at the house. Whipped shea and coconut oil and olive oil. What were you about to say? Look at that.
I have
You could have got some right off the top. You ain't have to go in there. She's nice and moist.
no, this his friend in California sent me all of these
Tana.
vegan bath
Shower gels.
shower gels.
You want to have this? I guess I can let you have this.
Oh, okay.
She's been asking for it since you gave it to me, Lori. She probably ain't gonna use it.
I am. I want to put it on my elbow so I can soften it up.
She gonna put it on her elbow.
Feet.
It'll soften it up.
Well, I could give you a couple tablespoons and you could.
No, I want more than a couple tablespoons.
And then Lori.
She'll send you some more. She always doing something for you.
Did you give her that after I dipped into it?
Give her what?
That shea butter. Mm-hmm.
But I had dipped into it early. It was mine.
Yeah, he had used some of it when we were at the
Yeah, because I had
But I
put some on
dipped
my
into it
hand.
and all my germs got in it.
Didn't you just wash your hands when you came in?
brunch.
This right here, this is the Bionatal black seed oil. She brought it to me to the brunch. She came to the brunch. You want to try this black seed oil?
What is that?
This is. Are you diabetic?
No. Is that something?
But it's not. You don't. I'm not diabetic either. You don't have to be diabetic. But it's very good for you.
to drink?
Well, you just gonna take a tablespoon, Julia. She's trying to sit there and take it. But
It tastes like motor oil.
Well, I wasn't gonna tell her. I was just gonna put some in her mouth. It's very good for you,
But
though.
do you drink it or
You take a
switch it around and
tablespoon.
spit it out?
No, you drink it. You take a tablespoon.
You want a spoonful?
This bottle right here is
I'll get it
$80.
I'll get it later. Can I get it later?
It's now or never, Juliet. I may not feel
But why don't you
generous
not
later.
drink it while you're drinking that?
I may
tea?
not feel magnanimous later.
What does that mean?
Generous.
You know, I always learn from your words. When you use your $1 million, $6 million words, I say that's another $6 million word. Let me keep saying that over and over again so I can learn it.
Right. That's how I used to do. I used to write it down on the list on a piece of paper,
Mm-hmm.
and I would look at it. All right. So these are the gifts that I got today. Thank you so much. I took a tablespoon earlier today. I'm going to take another tablespoon today.
So what is it, a cleanser?
Lori, so Lori is diabetic, and she said it brought down her what?
A1C.
A1C numbers. It brings down your cholesterol. It's good for your skin. It's good for your
Well, why
hair.
Gladys did you
Girl, why does Gladys do a lot of things? I don't know. I try to help her. She don't want to.
Well, I'm not diabetic anymore
You know?
Since when?
since I've been going to dialysis. They took me off of my diabetic medicine. I've been off it.
Well, you could still probably benefit from this because this is not
Well, I
just
don't
for
have
diabetics.
$80 for black seed oil.
You what?
I do not have $80 for black seed oil.
But Craig does.
Black folks, y'all always want to talk about what y'all ain't got no money for, but you got money. Rita got money for Benson and Hedges cigarettes. You got money to buy. And see, and while we on this, let me say this, and then we're gonna go ahead and record this podcast. Let me say this. Y'all always talk about, ain't anybody got time to be doing all of that? I was cleaning my celery the other day so I could put it in my juicer, right? And I just could hear them in my mind, in my thoughts. Well, ain't nobody got time to be. This is how they sound when they talk to me. Ain't nobody got time to be, cleaning no celery every morning. Like, that just takes up too much time. Like, but y'all stand there and clean chicken. Hello? But y'all stand there and clean chicken.
But you said but Gladys told
And
me.
that takes longer than.
But Gladys told me the other day you just bought a new juicer that you don't have to do all that. You just put the celery in the thing.
But you do
Right.
have to wash it. But
You do
don't
have to wash because
chop
it's
it up.
dirty. But I don't
It
have
came
to.
from Walmart. It was $40.
It was right from Walmart.
I need to get one. Because I want to do the celery thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. You want to do it, Gladys?
No, I can't have that much salt
Oh,
because
that's
it
right.
has too much
That's
water
right.
in it.
Yeah.
See, and see, so.
But I did for a couple of days. I ate 2 stalks every day. That's the most the dietitian said I
Right,
can
right,
have every
right.
day.
But see, here's the other thing about them. What happens is they always complain, well, that just takes too much time. Like, who got time to be doing all that? But what I be trying to explain to them is you need to take care of this stuff now because, see, if you become diabetic, it's a whole lot. I mean, not diabetic, but if you have to end up being on dialysis, it's a lot of preparation and stuff. Like, you can't drink a certain amount of fluids a day. Like, you got to monitor stuff. So a lot of times they be like, Craig, it takes up too much time, all that stuff you're doing, trying to prep the food and da-da-da, because it's vegan or, plant-based. But it's like, if you become, on dialysis, if you have to get on dialysis, you still have to be, manage stuff and pay attention to stuff.
Right. Right.
Sister Kate over there is supposed to go to dialysis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
No, she
But you keep
She
on
goes
saying.
Mondays and Fridays.
Right.
But the reason I only go Monday and Friday is because what happened was when they diagnosed me
Let me know when
with
she's
kidney
done.
disease, they also diagnosed me with bladder cancer. So once I got started on dialysis, then they started giving me chemotherapy for the bladder cancer. So I would have to go like every other month, 3 Tuesdays in a row. So the first year and a half, it was fine, you know. I was able to go, come on home, keep on going. But then by that, probably like 18 months into it, I was just so weak. So the first time it happened to me, the next morning I managed to get up and go to dialysis that Wednesday. But I mean, it just took everything I had. When I came back home, I made a peanut butter jelly sandwich and took a couple bottles of water, went upstairs. So I have something to eat when I take my night medicine and have some water to drink, because they want you to drink as much water as you can to wash the chemo out. So I just told the nurse, you know, I said, I just can't come on Wednesday.
I'm gonna go wash my hands while she telling this long story. Hold on.
Too much energy for me to get myself up and get dressed to come
here,
here.
Gladys. Come on over here. Tell them about your energy.
So anyway, so the nurse told me, she said, well, if you're gonna miss a day, miss a Wednesday. So I said, okay. So that's when I stopped on Wednesdays, and they kept saying, you know, you need to come on Wednesday. You can't keep just coming 2 days a week. But I talked to the doctor. I said, listen, nobody knows how I feel but me, and I just don't have the energy to get clothes on and get washed up to get over here on Wednesday. You know, I said, you know, I could have an accident trying to get over here. Just how weak I am.
Right.
So he said, well, just try to watch your floors. You know, we're going to watch your meds. And so that's what they did. So they just let me come. And I've been going 2 days a week ever since.
And it's worked out fine.
And it's worked out. So, and I just said, you know, I just got to put my faith in God to help me get through this, because I just can't go on Wednesdays.
Right.
So, but he tried to tell people, oh, she only go Monday and Friday. Mm-hmm. But it isn't because I just want to go Monday and Friday. It's because, even though I stopped
No, she needed to go.
Even though I stopped going to chemotherapy treatment, but since I'm doing fine going 2 days a week, why should I go 3?
Right, right.
And you sound like Rita. That's why Rita don't want to come off her cigarettes.
You keep bothering Rita.
No, but the doctor said that my labs are good.
Rita should have stopped smoking.
And everything is doing, you know, I'm doing well so far. Okay. So
Rita
I'm not going to go 3 days.
He ain't coming over.
So I'm not going to go 3 days if I don't have to.
Right.
But see, y'all always talk about what y'all don't want to have to do. But see, when you have the opportunity to change things, because see, I remember when I was growing up.
Here's a knife right here.
I can't use that blade. I'm just trying to slice up a tomato. She got this butcher knife. I don't need this.
That'll probably cut it better than that one.
Lord,
but see, when I was growing up, and I used to be like, Ma, you need to come up. Oh, shut the hell up. Oh, leave me the hell alone. That's what she used to tell me. Now it's, oh, that's just a lot on your body. Well, girl, look, back then, let me point. Back then, you had the time to come up off the cigarettes, huh? Now you want to complain about the things that you have to do now. So for all the people that be like, oh, it's hard. It's too hard to come off the cigarettes. Okay, you've just heard what hard is.
Right.
This is hard.
Right.
So now we just have to make do. Well, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, we know. Let me slice up my avocado and my tomato. All right, I ain't even washed the tomato. Hold on, let me wash my tomatoes real quick before I get something.
Okay.
I'm just gonna rinse them real quick. I'm gonna slice up these.
Did you get them out the store or out of somebody's garden?
I got these out of the store, and they all on the vine. They were all on. It was like 6 of them on the vine. Mm-hmm. I went over to the. Is it racist to say the Geechee giant?
Gucci.
I mean the Gucci giant. Is that racist? They talking about the Jewish.
But it is a difference.
I know there's a difference in the store because you know a lot of black communities are in food deserts.
Yes.
But is it racist to say I went to the Gucci giant?
It's real.
Is it acceptable to be saying that?
I think so.
I don't think the Jews would like you saying.
Well, which we not among the Jews.
Right.
Right?
That's a mess.
Would you went to the John on Old Court?
No, we went to the Shoppers, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we went to Shoppers. All right. So I'm sitting here with my mom's friend Juliet. You can slide over. I don't bite unless, you know, I want to. Unless you're a nice looking young man. But I'm sitting here with my... I'm sitting here with my mom's friend Juliet. And the purpose of this conversation is to shine light on those of you that are raising your grandchildren or raising someone else's kids in particular. So I'm going to call this podcast Someone Else's Child. And several years ago, many years ago, I wrote a stage play called Someone Else's Child. I've never produced it, but it's called Someone Else's Child. And the show is based loosely on my family. And so it's based on like my mom and two of my aunts, because my mom raised my sister's kids because my sister was on drugs for years. One of my aunts, she kind of raised her granddaughter because her daughter had a mental breakdown, had suffered from mental illness. And then my third aunt, or second aunt that I wrote about in this show, raised her granddaughter partially because her daughter was like really young when she had her.
Right.
But in your case, you're raising your son's daughter?
Son.
Your son's?
Son.
Your son's son. Okay.
Yes.
But you're also raising, you told me the other day you're raising...
My niece.
Your niece. Okay, but before we get into the niece part, I want to talk about you raising your grandson. And I thought it was important to have this conversation because there are a lot of people that are raising, in particular, grandmothers that are raising their grandkids. And the purpose of the stage play that I wrote is to beg the question why so few parents are parenting and why so many grandparents had to step into the role of provider, especially those of you that are nearing like retirement and like you're getting to that point where you've already raised your kids. You're at the winter of your life where you should be able to travel and do all of those things that you want to do. And your income is probably fixed. But now you're buying Pampers in some cases, or you're paying for Head Start or daycare, and you're helping somebody with homework. And there aren't really a lot of resources, government resources or state resources that can assist you. Because I know in the case of my mom, they would always say, like, she couldn't get WIC. What does WIC stand for? It's like infants and children.
Women and children. I did get WIC.
Well, I mean,
you had to keep running down.
Right, she had to keep going down.
And
that's her in the background.
If you missed, it would cut off, and after a while,
right. But you couldn't. But she could never get like food stamps, or you could never get cash because food stamps and WIC only help, but for so much. It only helps with food. But like when my nephew was in like Pampers, like you can't buy Pampers with that. You can't pay for daycare with that.
Right.
So there aren't really services that support that kind of thing. So I just want to kind of get an idea, or really give them an idea first, how you even got into this role of raising your grandson. And I'm going to go ahead and slice up my tomatoes and avocado.
Well, what happened was I found out that I had a grandson when he was 7 months old. And his mother didn't have a place to live. She grew up in foster care.
Okay, his mom.
His mom. And my son and his mom had some kind of one night thing going on, and she got pregnant.
Okay.
And so then when she found me, and then she moved with me and my grandson. He was less than a year old, and that was in September of 2013. And she died December the 14th, 2013 from a brain abscess.
Okay. So the mom, how old was she when she died?
25.
So she was 25 and she died from a brain abscess.
Right.
But prior to that, she and the baby had moved in with you.
Right.
Why had she moved in with you?
Because the apartment that she was living in, which was a house apartment, the woman had sold the apartment. Sold the house.
The building, yeah.
Yeah. And then she was living with a friend, and the place was just a mess. It was mice and like I said, her skills were limited because she grew up in foster care. Her mother was on drugs, and she had some limitations.
Right.
And so he was my grandson. I didn't want him living in the street, so I
Took them in.
Mhm.
So at this point, obviously, like you said, it was kind of like a one night stand kind of thing or
Yeah.
whatever. So they
it
weren't
wasn't
really together.
a relationship. It wasn't a relationship.
Right.
Right.
So what's his role, your son's role, in helping to raise the son? Did he step up once she passed?
No, he didn't. Because, first of all, he was angry with her for getting pregnant in the first place.
Mm.
So he really wasn't accepting the child at first. But
Mhm.
then, now he accepts the child, but he's not really mature or to take that responsibility. And truthfully speaking, if I had him helping me or with me, I would have to take care of him and him. I would have to tell him what to do, how to do. And I'm done with that. I don't have the patience for this grown man. He's now 30. He'll be 31 this week coming.
Okay.
So
it's easier for you to just
It's easier for me
take care of the grandson.
Just take care of
yourself.
Myself. And do it my way. And we both have joint custody of him.
You and your son share the custody.
Yes.
So, does your son work?
He does not keep a steady job.
So you're taking care of your grandson
Right.
financially on your own.
But financially, see, he gets survivor's benefits from his mother. So I'm going to say his survivor's benefits is about $725 a month.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes care of daycare.
Right.
So daycare is $150 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, which he does go to school now. He's in he just passed to the first grade, but I still have to get aftercare.
Mm-hmm.
So the money takes care of daycare or things like that.
Right.
But the other part, the clothes but I love it.
Do you?
I love it.
But see, and that's the beautiful thing, though. See, you love it, but there are a lot of people that are struggling with it, and they may be raising their grandkids or nieces or whomever, nephews, and they resent it. You know what I'm saying? Because these kind of things happen. Because sometimes folks have to step into the role, not just because the parent was trifling, but sometimes, like in the case of your grandson's mother, she passed.
But my son is trifling as far as taking responsibility for him.
Right.
For example, he could come over and clean his room. He could wash his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
He could prepare meals after school, after work,
So,
lunch.
yeah.
There's so many other things that he could do that
To
would be
assist you,
helpful.
yeah.
Besides give me money.
Does he give you money?
No.
Okay.
He could do homework. He could do some of those other things. He could discipline him some so that I don't have to discipline him all the time.
Well, do you think you love it because you have a better relationship with your grandchild than you did with his dad?
Or it's an opportunity to have a better relationship with your grandson than you have with your kids? That was a good Oprah Winfrey question, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Go ahead and think about it, beloved.
So, I think both because, I got 2 grandchildren, and my oldest son takes care of my other granddaughter, who is about a year or so older, a year and a half older than my grandson. But I just I don't have the same opportunity with her, but if I did, I would like it. And maybe that's why, because I don't have a good relationship with my children as good as I do with my grandchildren. As a matter of fact, when I go, my grandchildren get everything that I own.
You mean when you pass away?
When I pass away.
You're going to leave everything. You're going to bequeath everything to the grandkids.
That's another $6 million word. Bequeath.
Yes. So
what does bequeath mean?
you're gonna will everything to them. You're gonna leave everything to them. So, but what about those people, like those parents, like I said, or godparents that are raising kids and they really are having a tough time? How did you get? What did you call it? Survivors.
Well, I get survivor's benefits because anytime you are under 18, and your parent dies,
It automatically happens.
yeah, especially if your parent worked.
Right. Because I thought it was like Social Security that they would get.
It is from
It is? Okay.
Social Security. So when you put in that to Social Security that
The parent.
the parent passed away, then they will, based on what they worked,
How much they put into the system.
into the system, they will give them so much a month, and he'll get it until he turns 18.
So, how did this change your life though, in terms of like, because you work still, you're not retired.
Right, but now maybe it would be a struggle. It's not a struggle for me like when my kids were little and I didn't make as much money as I make now. And then it was a struggle because I could, I was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time when my kids were little working, going to college, but now I got all that under my belt.
Right.
I'm not working to buy a house. I'm not working to go to college. I just work a normal job and I get a decent salary and then I can afford to take care of him. It's not a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there also, like you said, is a lot of resentment with your other grandparents because it's it's a
financial burden. Yeah.
But like even when Gladys was raising her grandson, she was financially able to support him, and she enjoyed it. I think she enjoyed it. I do.
I don't know.
Well, at first I wasn't because, I was just working. I didn't have the assisted living then. But since I was dating Willie, and I had to go up to social service like 7 o'clock one morning so that I could try to get to work not too late. And it was raining and everything. And he just said, don't even fool with those people. As long as my knees are bent, I'm going to take care of you and these children. And so I just didn't worry about it anymore. And then once I started assisted living, I was financially able to do a lot better.
And so,
but also with you, since you have Kaylin, you met Joe, who's a good man, who's accepted, you, your children, your grandchildren.
right.
And, so you have support with him as well.
Right.
Well, what I will say from my perspective, like when my mother was raising my oldest nephew, Ty, my sister was 19 when she had him. So it probably was a little easier then because, one, my mother was younger. And then Ty and I kind of we grew up together. There's just a 5-year difference between the two of us. So, like, when it came to homework, I was helping him with homework because I was only 5 years older. So, like, I could help him with the homework and whatever, that kind of thing. And then it got to the point where, Terrell came along. My sister had Terrell. Now, my mother was older. And at this point, she was starting the assisted living business. She was still working full time, but she was starting the assisted living business, which of course, required her to renovate that other house.
Right.
So it was a lot of expenses, that were going out for her in terms of trying to get that business. And I say this all the time, I really think that I got my entrepreneurial spirit from my mother, because God knows I didn't get it from my father. But, my father's a hard worker. He works, stuff like that. But my father is not. You got to be a risk taker to go out on a dream, to step out on your dream, whatever it is. And so I used to watch her go down to that. She would go to work. She would come home. She wouldn't even come home. She would stop down at the other house and,
yeah, I remember.
Oversee like construction or whatever was happening down there. And it was years before she got her first client down there.
And that was through Juliet.
And that was through you. But my point is, at that point, she was older and she had a lot more going on financially. But I was older too, so I was at a point where I was driving, so I could pick Terrell up from school. I could drop him off at school or whatever. But it was still a burden because financially, I was also about to go to college soon. And then, like I said, she had this business. And so, like, there was just no extra money.
Right.
And, like, here she was taking care of a second child.
Right.
And my sister was off getting high, on drugs. And so it was like a burden. And so when I think back, it was a lot. Like, I really do think
Well, let me
back.
ask you, when you're, and this is not what we're talking about, but
Mhm.
when your sister looks at these lives or podcasts
Mhm.
and you say these things,
Girl, it's the truth. What also the mince words?
no, but does that make, you know?
Girl, that's her truth. She was on drugs. My mother raised her kids. I didn't deviate
I
from
don't
the
think
truth.
she looks at him.
Well, here's what I will tell you. In my first book, I write about this extensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, down to the point of like how, you know, my youngest nephew, Terrell, would sometimes come here. Because like he lived with us, but he also lived with his mother. My nephew Ty, who's the oldest, he's always lived with us. He's never lived with her. Because like I said, when my sister had him, she was 19. So Ty never left this house. But when Terrell was born, she wasn't living with us. She was still with the father, you know, and then they broke up. And then she'd be in and out of drug treatment centers. So he would come here. So he kind of like stayed with us sometimes and he would be with her. But there were times that he would come here and he'd be filthy. Like pamper full of poop. You know, so he'd be starving, you know, hungry. You know what I'm saying? And so I saw the effects of that. So I write about that in the book. And so when she read the first book, you know, she knew about the book, and I told her that, you know, it was coming, what I wrote about, and all that kind of stuff. But to actually see the words on the paper, and by the time my first book came out,
Right.
she had been clean for 20 years.
Right.
Literally 20 years. And so by the time that first book came out, you know, anyone who met her in that 20-year span didn't know who she was at the time. I say all of that to say she was dating a guy at the time, and he was reading my first book with her. They both bought a copy, and they both were reading it. And so he was further along in the book than she was. So he got to the point in the book where she was getting high, and Terrell would come over here, and he'd be dirty and, you know, hungry. And he said to her, he said, wow, because they were only dating a couple years, and he said to her, wow, I cannot imagine you this way. He said, I can't, because he had never seen her as an addict. He had only seen her as a rehabilitated person. And she said to him, yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know what she said to him, but basically, she, you know, they had a conversation about it. He knew that she had been a recovering addict.
Right.
He knew that, but he had never seen it. And so then she called me, even though she knew I had written about it, she called me and said, why'd you have to write all of that in the book? Like, why'd you have to go into all that? You know, that, and then she was in a little bit of denial. It was like, Terrell was never dirty, but you know, you got to remember, she was on drugs, so you didn't see what we saw, because a lot of those years you were in a fog. And then she even called my brother, who spent 23 years in jail, and she said to him, well, how do you feel about Craig writing this in the book? But again, he knew that the people that I cared about, I told them that I was writing this book and what was going in the book. So this was not like Nova and Queen Sugar. But my brother said to her, I don't have a problem with what he wrote. It was the truth. It's the truth. Now, if he had written something other than the truth, then yeah, I would have an issue. But it's the truth. So she just kind of had to relive it, I guess, a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but it was what had happened.
Right.
You know, but I think that what happens is a lot of times these kids feel bounced around. Now, I don't think your grandson will feel like that, but here's what I will tell you. Your situation is, but his father is still living.
Right.
So he may have a bit of resentment towards the father at some point because he is living.
Well, he does have resentment towards his father.
How old is he now?
6.
He's 6.
But he knows, he's like, has an old soul, and maybe because I'm older, and you know, I raised him, because what I didn't do with my kids is when I didn't explain it.
Right.
But this time, when I do tell him things, I explain it. Well, this is this, and why, and you need to think about this, and you need to be mindful of that. So he's thought-provoking.
Right.
So he is resentful to us. So he doesn't want to go visit.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, but he wants me to be kind to him and not fuss at him. But
Right.
he doesn't want to go stay with him.
Really?
He doesn't want to do anything with him.
Well, I know with Ty, his father, well, his grandmother and dad always said that Ty wasn't his child. But the sister will consistently come every weekend to pick him up, to take him over there. And so then it got to the point where the grandmother was like, yeah, he is my grandson. He looks like his dad and so and so and so and so. So by the time Ty was about 8, because he would go over there during the summer and stay, and then he'd come back, because we usually go down Virginia Beach or somewhere for a week or two.
Right.
And so other than that, she would keep it because I was working,
Right.
and I didn't want to leave him here with Craig, you know, because he was just old enough to keep it south. So,
Man, he is not nobody's babysitter, okay?
and so, you know, they never, to me, never really had a really good relationship, the two of them. And
But you know what I will say is, I think that a lot of times, kids oftentimes will have a better relationship with their mother's side of the family.
Right.
Usually.
Usually.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was closer to my mother's side of the family than my father's side. Like, there's people on my father's side that I don't even know. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my father has always been in my life, but I always felt closer to my mother's side of the family than I did to his side. I just never really felt close to them. But, so, do you have any friends or grandmothers like you that are raising their grandkids that are struggling, or, you know?
You see it all the time, and because it's evident in the black community. You know, I'm a social worker. So
All right, come on, give us some of that social work.
So, in the black community, that's what we do. Black, you know, we take care of the grandchildren most of the time. It happens all the time in Baltimore.
And what are some of the reasons that you think that it's happening?
Drugs. The kids are irresponsible. They don't have jobs. I just don't know. It's like they just don't take responsibility for their kids. And people will tell me, well, if you just stop doing it and just make your son do whatever it is he's supposed to do, then, you know. And remember, I used to tell you that about Ty all the time.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn. Either my grandson is going to be a knucklehead, or
Right.
I'm going to do the best I can to do.
Well, let me give them a little background on what you just said. So my mother and Juliet are really good friends, right? So when they met, how did y'all meet?
Through this
The
program.
Sister 11. I
went
used to work. I was a case manager, and she needed clients in her house.
My mother was trying to get clients for her
and I
assisted
met
living
her at a
business.
meeting.
And that was in
1990.
1997.
Okay, so in '97 they met. So that lets you know how long ago that was. So they became friends. What's that? 25 years? That's 25 years.
Between 96 and 97, yeah.
So what happened was, when Juliet came into my mother's life, or when they came into each other's life, in '97, I was still in high school, which meant Ty was about to go to high school.
Right.
And my mother was raising Ty, and she would sometimes raise Terrell because he was back and forth. And Juliet had all of these opinions and was just like, well, girl, if you just would just stop doing this for them. And, you know, Donnie would have to step up. That's my sister.
I used to say that too.
Donnie would have to step up and, this, you know, this, that, and the third.
Don't be mad with me, Donnie.
But now Juliet is seeing firsthand that what matters most is the grandkid. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you don't want to... You can try to do that tough love thing and think that the parent is going to step up. But, like, in my sister's case, she was on drugs, so she was not stepping up.
And I was not going to see my grandkids in foster care. Because, like, at first she was getting married to some guy and they were moving to Virginia with his mother. And I'm like, first of all, you don't even know the mother. You don't know what the circumstances are down there. So if you want to get married and move down there, you go. But you're going to leave him here. And then if things work out, you can come back and get him. And before I knew it, they were both back. And, you know, I didn't let Ty go. So whenever she would move, I just would let him move with her because I knew she was still in and out of the drug life. And I didn't want to have it on my conscience, you know, that something happened.
Right.
Because I'm mad with her and gonna make her take him, you know, to keep him over the weekend or whatever.
Right, right.
So, and the same thing with Terrell, you know, and he would just lie. And, you know, I'd go out there from work and I said, Terrell, you had dinner yet? Yeah, we had chicken and broccoli and so and so. And I go in the house, won't be a drop of food in there, you know.
But you know what I realized from that whole thing? Because, like she was saying, Terrell, my youngest nephew, that stayed with Donnie, and he would come here, he would live with her, come here. I don't care how dysfunctional a child's relationship is with their mother, or how abusive physically or verbally it is. That child is always going to maintain a soft spot for that mother, and they're always going to try to protect that mother.
Right.
And that's what he would do.
But then they also look at the difference between Ty and Terrell.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Terrell is a survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and Terrell is more independent.
He's going to try to figure it out before he asks for help.
Before he asks.
I was just telling you the story the other day. I'm not going to go into that now, but I literally had to help him the other day because he won't ask. He won't ask for help. But that's one of the things that I think he learned coming through that fire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's never had that stable home life. But I will also say, I think part of the reason that Terrell gravitates to these girls that have kids is because he craves this built-in family. I think that he feels, I don't think he ever really felt at home. I think he feels at home here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he never had a stable home life here because he didn't know how long he would live here,
right?
And how long he would be with her.
When he came here, he was older.
No, what happened, I was coming from my mother's, I think, one Sunday, and we stopped at this light because they live right there at Garrison and Park Heights.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to Craig, I said, that's Terrell crying. He said, my name, you know that's him crying. I said, I'm telling you that's him crying. So we turned around, parked the car, went in there. I mean, he was drenched in urine. And they all hide up. I just took him. He was like 7 months old. And I just kept him. I called Lynn. And I said, Lynn, give me the lady's number that used to keep Tyra when she was a baby, because I'm going to need somebody to keep Terrell. And I got to be to work at 7 o'clock, which she already knew. And so I called this lady, and she was like, she wasn't taking more children. And I said, Miss, you have please got to help me, because I don't know what else I'm going to do. You know, I can't lose my job. She said, well, all right, bring them tomorrow, and if it works out, you know, then I'll be able to keep them. So that's what I did. I dropped them off the next morning, and from then on, you know, she just started keeping them. And then when he got a little bit older, he used to stutter real bad. And when I was taking him to the doctor, he was on the board down at this daycare on Pennsylvania and Dolphin. I can't think of the name of the church. And he said, I'm going to get him in there because they can take him to speech classes. And sure enough, he got him into that daycare. And a lady would open up at 6:30, so all I do was pull up. And these men that helped out in the daycare, they would just get them out the car, take them in, I could keep on going. And same thing when I picked them up. But as far as you saying about children defending their mother, I remember one day I was in here, and I mean, I was going in on Donnie on the phone with Lynn. And Ty, he was just sitting here for a while, and I wasn't even paying any attention to him being here. And all of a sudden, he burst out crying. He said, you need to stop talking about my mother. And I said, oh, Lord, I didn't even think he was paying me any attention, you know. So from then on, I told Lynn, I said, well, I'm not going to talk about it no more. No more when I'm
But no, you
kept
kept Terrell up until he was 5, and
so
then he went back
he
home.
Was 5, right.
And then as he became, he went home at 5, and then he came back here.
He came back when he was about 8.
Okay.
But he was in and out in between. Mm-hmm. But he really came back about 8 years old. He stayed until he went to middle school. And then that's when Donnie, I think, met George, and they got married, and he ended up moving up Delaware with them. But that was another mess.
Please believe. But, you know, it's just really hard. And I just don't know if I would be made of the stuff. I mean, I'm sure I would, but, like, to really step in for somebody else's child, you know, especially after you've raised your own kids and they've already become an adult, and it's like you got to start all over again. Because I literally will sometimes see grandparents. You can tell when it's a grandparent. You're in a store someplace, and you can tell that it's a grandparent raising that grandkid, and you can tell that that grandparent is overwhelmed. They sometimes mean to the kid because they know they have to step up for the kid, but they're resentful.
But in the black community, that is a part of our community, is that we raise the grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And it's in the Hispanic community too.
But now it's almost like it's intensified because, again, like you said, the drugs. Even more than ever, black men are not present in the home.
Right.
So what do you the solution is? And I don't even know you have the answer. I'm just asking because as a social worker, you see this stuff.
My thing is well, I don't have the answer, but I do know some of the contributing factors, and some of the contributing factors are that society, TV, propaganda demonizes the black men. They don't have the self-esteem. They don't have the opportunity to advance themselves. They don't have the education. And they're not self-sufficient. They're like Joe, my husband. He is the type of person that will take care of family. He works. He's a construction worker. He's self-taught. He can repair, fix anything, car, whatever. He's going to make that money and make it work.
Right.
Why can't my son do that? I've taught my son from, we're going to make this work. When I had an assisted living business too, I had all three of my kids working in the assisted living. Had them cooking the food, cutting the lawnmower. My kids used to break the lawnmower just to keep from cutting the grass. They used to break the vacuum cleaner to keep from vacuuming the floor. And they worked against me. And I was making all of us work in the business so that we could all have.
Right. So, but and I would say this to you, but one of the things that I've said to my mother, because I really do think that my sister, because my mother and my sister have this kind of a relationship where it's on again, off again. It's kind of on right now. But my sister has communicated in so many ways that she feels like my mother gave me more than she gave her and my brother. My sister and brother have the same father. I have a different father. So my sister feels and has said she thinks that my mother has done more for me than she did for either of them. My brother doesn't feel that way. My brother has said, no, we just took our path. And what I will say to you, and I'll say to everybody that's listening, I think there's a fine line, and this is a quote in my third book. There's a fine line between what a child wants for themselves and what a parent can give you. There's a fine line between those two things. Right. So, like, it doesn't matter how much, because from my perspective, I think my mother gave me, and of course, there's a 14, 15-year gap between me and my sister and brother, so I wasn't there for their childhood. But based on what I've heard and based on what I've pieced together from what my brother has said, family has said, she gave them the same thing that she gave me. Right. Now, granted, I do believe that as you get older, like you're older now raising your grandson than you were when you were raising your kids. And like you said, when you were younger, you were trying to get everything situated. You're trying to buy your house, start your business, go to school, where now you're more settled. I believe the same is true with me. My mother had me at 32. She had, you had Donnie at 20? She had Donnie at like 18. So she wasn't, but by the time I came along, she had me in art classes, she had me in swimming classes, I took karate.
I did the same thing with them.
Well, she's saying she did the same thing with them, but what I'm saying is, I'm sure that there were instances where she wasn't as present because she was helping me with my homework all of the time.
But let me say something.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Donnie, your sister, in her childhood, or whatever happened, whatever happened with her self-esteem, with her way of thinking, with her self-image,
yes,
she got on drugs, and she had kids, and she struggled, and she went through the struggle. Right. Okay? Right. And so that has something to do with her perspective of your mother doing more for you than she did for her. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So she it doesn't have anything to do with her saying that she did more for you than she did for them. It has nothing to do with you.
No, it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But what I think she does is she uses it against my mother to take advantage. Because I think, I will say this, and I've said this before, I really do feel like my mother tries to overcompensate because my mother holds that. I mean, my sister holds that thing over her head, and I think my mother goes out of her way to try to show.
And
her.
like I said to you the other day, well, what more could your mother have done other than raise her kids?
And I agree, but you know, most people.
So she raised her kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's more she ever did for you.
Right, because I ain't never had no kids for her to raise. And that's exactly my point. But a lot of times we look from a very myopic point of view. We only look from our point of view. We're not looking from another perspective. And I feel like my sister looks from her own perspective. She looks at the fact that I went to college and then I went and did this and you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But my thing is, but my point is, you had those same options too.
Right.
You chose to go the wayward way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a fine. So I think that even though what my mother did for me wasn't identical to what she did for them, but I believe she gave us the same core stuff.
Then as she got older, she had more money.
Yeah.
She was more established.
More settled.
So she could help.
Right.
But she's done everything for all, even your brother.
Right.
I mean, my God, I remember when she was helping him, taking care packages and.
Who are you telling? She dragged me down to them jails a few times. Look, dragged me down to the jail to visit him a few times.
And I remember, and I used to. I'm telling you, she did, but she did a lot. She did a lot. And in my family, my brother thinks that I was the golden child, you know, and I was treated better because now if you put us side by side, I have more than him. I'm more established than him. So he feels like because I'm more established,
that they gave you more.
That they gave me
But that's
more.
the point that I'm making. I think there's a fine line between what your parents can give you and what you want for yourself. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, they gave you the same thing. My mother gave us the same thing. But how much are you going to factor in my own drive, my own ambition, my own wants for myself? You know what I'm saying? Because what good is her hope for my sister if her hope is to be who she is? You know what I'm saying? You can't dream a bigger dream for somebody else. That's just whether you're dating, whether you're
kids.
And
this is another thing. I got a thought. Okay, so when you get off of drugs, and I told Gladys this years ago, and
I hope you're about to say what I'm about to say. Go ahead.
When you get off of drugs, you still have the same. First of all, you're stuck in the age you were in when you got on the
That's
drugs.
what I was gonna say.
So you lost all of that,
those years,
all that growth and all of that maturity. So you're starting from that state of mind.
She got on drugs at 19.
Okay, and Lord, I kind of think because I had another thought. So. You still have a manipulative
spirit.
Yes. So her way, and I don't really want to talk bad about your sister.
It's not talking bad. This is just about.
No, this is just giving everybody.
This is in general.
But her way is just like when she's manipulated
because she was on drugs for so many years. So they learned to manipulate.
Right, but that doesn't go away.
Exactly. So let me help you, beloved. Okay, I'm gonna give you a good metaphor, a really good metaphor. It's just like with gay folk. When you're in the closet, before you ever tell anybody who you are, even before you start having experiences and stuff, right? There's an incubation period where you're in that closet and you're battling with yourself and you're trying to wrestle with whether or not you really can control those feelings, whether or not you can turn them on or off. Then there's a period where you realize, okay, this is something that I can't really control, right? So then you start acting on the feelings. You might start sneaking out to the gay clubs. You might get a few little gay friends, but you don't let anybody in your real life, your family, your friends that you grow with, you don't let any of them meet any of these new people. So you teach yourself while you're in the closet, quote unquote, how to sneak, how to cheat, how to hide, and how to lie for the sake of protecting your sexuality from everybody else. You teach yourself how to do this, how to manipulate everybody. Your friend, your family, well, where are you going? Oh, I'm just going to hang out with some people. Knowing you going to the gay bar. It's the same thing with a drug addict. You learn how to hide and get over on people and get what you want so you can go get that high. And when even after you come out of the closet, or even after you get off the drugs, that behavior still continues sometimes because you've programmed yourself to do it. And you got to actively condition yourself to not do it anymore.
Right. Exactly.
There you
and
have
that's
it.
the whole part of the drug
Yes.
going to NA meetings
Yes.
and all that. They supposed to teach you all of that
Yes.
to be honest.
Yes.
And don't manipulate and stuff like that. And so you said she holds things over your mother's head and
Well,
play
you
on
did
that
this-
guilt.
You did this for Craig.
Right.
If it was Craig, you would have done
But
it.
that has nothing to do with nothing.
Right.
Whatever she did for you, that has nothing to do with whatever she's trying to get. She's just using that. Because in reality, if you really looked at the real deal, she did more for her than she did for you because she raised her kids and she gave her kids life.
Right.
She really
Right.
gave her kids life. Her kids, Terrell could have died.
Yeah. Or he could have been in foster care. He could have been molested, raped, or anything.
All of that.
Right.
So
Starved.
he could have
Died from cold.
I worked in foster care, right? And I had these two twin girls. That were in foster care. I was a foster care social worker, and their mother was on drugs, and they had an older sister. These little girls. Now, the older sister was 4. The little girls were 2, and the mother gave the 4-year-old to the drug dealer for sex,
drugs.
for drugs, for sex.
She gave the little girl to him to have sex with the little girl?
For drugs. Now that's how twisted up her mind. I'm not saying Donnie would do
No,
something like
right.
that.
But that's just the extreme.
That's how twisted up her mind was, that she needed those drugs that bad. Well, guess what? That drug dealer killed that little girl.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So I'm saying that you gave Donnie more than you ever gave Craig, than you ever gave your other son, because you raised her kids and you gave them life.
Gave them a chance that they wouldn't have had.
Right.
Yes.
That they wouldn't have. Because even their fathers weren't there to take them in.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But I want people who are in the position like you that are and like my mother was, raising somebody's kid, to hear this, because I know it could be difficult. I know it could be very hard, and you know, you never have any time for yourself, and never have any leftover money for yourself or whatever. But think about all that you're keeping that kid from. Think about the possibility.
But see, I enjoy, like if I take him to Hershey Park, or if I take him swimming, or if I take him to the park, I'd rather be doing that than to be doing something personal for myself.
I mean, I do think that you're an exception.
Cause I like just watching him. See, I'm enjoying the stuff that I was too busy to enjoy, or not mature enough to enjoy when my kids were little. I wasn't mature enough to say, oh, they think that, or that's funny, or that's cute, you know, or, Because
you were too busy trying to live, and you were, you know what I'm saying? Right. That's what I always say about when you're in your 20s. I don't know how old you were when you had your kids.
I was in my 20s, but I was so busy working.
Right.
But still, I had them too young.
Right, because when you're in your 20s, I've said this for a long time, when you're in your 20s, you live outside of yourself. You're so busy trying to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish. And even if it's not specific goals, but you're focused on going out with your friends. You're focused on doing the things that make you happy, things that are self-satisfying. And you're living outside of yourself because you're trying to pull those things to you. You're trying to make... Yeah.
Because it's an extenuation of your childhood. Because you're self-centered. You're still self-centered in your 20s.
You're in the moment,
Right. And so... you just finding out who you are. You don't know who you are until you're in your 30s.
Listen, that's why I say that there's a 30 shift. I believe there's a shift that happens interpersonally when you're 30. And like somewhere between the ages of 28 and 30 are the roughest years. I don't know if you
Exactly.
remember. Those were
That's
hard
the
years for me.
transition.
Yes.
And then when you turn 30, you're in another phase.
Exactly.
But the same thing when you turn 40.
Yes.
Same thing when you turn 50.
Yes.
You know,
Things didn't start to smooth out for me until about 38, 39. And he's 43 now. So it's only been a good 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Because it's rough. Like, you really go through. Because I really think that it's some growing phases that you go through. And to use Lauryn Hill's words, you have to do some dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be stripped of who you were to become who you're going to become. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And ridding yourself a lot of those childish ways.
Okay, but you just like you said, you have to be stripped of who you were. You're going to be stripped of who you were again and again.
Again, because you're always growing, you're always evolving.
You're going to be what Maya Angelou said, and when she had her radio station on the Oprah radio, she said, "You're not grown until you're 50."
Listen.
And I was like, "What?"
I get that because when I was, go ahead.
But I'm 56 this week. I'll be 56, and she's right. You're not grown until you're 50 because then you're really settling down. You're really and you're still learning, always evolving. So,
but there are these moments where you have this exponential growth. So like at 30, then you have another big push at 40.
Yep.
I mean, you have one at 35 too, because I felt one at 35, but I had one at 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I have a friend who used to tell me, because he's older than I am, and he used to say, "Craig, wait till you turn 35." And I would be like, "Craig, what do you mean?" He's like, "Just let me know when you turn 35." He used to tell me that, and I didn't. And when I was a kid, I used to think 25 was it. I thought, because see, in my mind, your car insurance dropped.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I just felt like you had it all figured out. There must be something special about 25. Your car insurance drops. You know, you got it figured out by then. You've already graduated college if you were going to go. Most likely, you were going to be done by 25. So I just felt like 25 was like this magic number. But when I got to 25, I'm like, stuff is still not right. Like, I remember I've always been able to pay my rent, like when I had jobs. Not those periods when I wasn't able to pay rent, when I was out on this entrepreneurial thing. But like when I was like right out of college, I always had jobs before I really jumped into this writing thing and entertainment thing. And I was always able to pay my rent.
The writing, because your major was communication.
Yeah, it was communication.
So the writing thing was the thing for you when you started to find your niche into the work world. This is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Because I remember the greeting cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the books. And
yes. But remember, years before all of that started happening, I was working corporate jobs with just a dream. And all I was doing at that time I was writing music. And it was just one of those things that I felt like it was never going to happen. I always had this drive, like, oh, it's going to happen. But there was always a small piece of me that felt like maybe it's never going to happen. Because I remember working jobs and not having enough. Feeling like I didn't have enough to stretch. And so I was always able to pay my rent and things like that, but I could never really see myself graduating to the point where I could sustain without going to a day job.
So I hear you.
Now, how did we get on this?
I know.
Well, go ahead.
Keep
going.
Got me another thought.
Go ahead.
So now you're going through another
yes.
phase. You're getting ready to go into another phase of your life that you have just realized. And that's you have older parents now. And your role is going to change.
It is changing.
Okay. And so your role is going to change, and so you gotta mature it up to be able to handle that. That's why I told you yesterday.
Yeah.
I said your mom did the best she could when we worked. When we would, even though your mother is old enough to be my mother. So because my mother is about her age, a little bit. About a year older than her, something like that. So, so your mom and your mom's kids are older than me anyway. So your mom back then there was no vegan that we knew about.
Right.
Maybe it was. There was no health thing on TV.
Well, to your point, there was nobody on a Facebook. Like you said, I'm watching you right now, Craig. Like Julia and I talked on the phone yesterday, and she was like, I want you to really be more patient with your mom because she really did the best she could when she was young. You got to remember she was raising you and Ty and Terrell and going to work and trying to get the business started. So like, it was just easier for her to put together meals, and like, she may not have always had the time to prioritize her health and go to the gym and do this and do that. And like, there was no such thing. Like, I'm sitting here watching you right now on Facebook, and all of this stuff that you're talking about, I got that stuff right in my cabinet. And I never even thought to prepare this stuff this way. But like, we didn't know anything about that. So it's like, so I did hear you. I heard you.
Okay.
But no, I get it. But to your point, it is so hard. It is so hard because just like yesterday, we had dinner. Now listen, this podcast has taken a nasty left turn. So listen, I know we're supposed to be talking about someone else's child, but listen, you get a little bit of everything. But we were at dinner yesterday for my nephew's birthday. My great nephew, he's 16. He turned 16. So we go to this seafood restaurant. Food was great. And well, let me take a step back. So earlier in the day, my mother and I went to lunch. And so I took her to lunch, and so we eating. We had a great lunch, and so we're leaving on the way back here to the house. And she says to me, I didn't get a piece of carrot cake. I should have got some carrot cake. I just looked at her and kept driving because I'm sitting there thinking, if you think I'm about to go back for some carrot cake, and we a couple streets away from the house, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you don't need no carrot cake, no way.
Well, that's what you're saying. You don't need no carrot cake.
Well, I didn't say that then. I didn't say anything in the car. So then that night, we went to dinner for my nephew's birthday. Here she comes.
You did. You said you don't need
I
no
said it at the
carrot
dinner.
cake. No.
Oh, I said it in the car?
You said you don't need no carrot cake.
Okay, so I may have said it in the car. You don't need no carrot
You
cake.
still eat the wrong things. I said, well, I haven't been.
Oh, yeah. So that, I did. So we in the car coming from lunch. And I said, you don't need no carrot cake, no way. Oh, well, I ain't had nothing sweet in a while. I said, you may not have had nothing sweet, but didn't Gloria just bring you some ribs at the hospital or when you got out of the hospital or something the other day? I don't remember that. I just looked at him. I'm sitting there thinking, you may not remember, but I remember. So then that night, we go to dinner for my nephew's birthday. So everybody had that dinner. And mind you, my nephew had little cupcakes that he was giving to everybody. Now, I didn't eat that because, they made with milk and dairy. So I didn't eat it. So
You don't think you drink milk?
no, I haven't. No, I stopped drinking milk years ago.
Wow.
Even before I came off the meat, because it's an animal's milk. Like, I know I don't want to drink that. It's a lot of fat in it, and even before I knew about all the other stuff, I always cut that out. So I was drinking almond milk for a long time, even before, you know what I'm saying? So I've probably been off of milk probably at least 5 or 6, 7 years. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we go to dinner. So here comes this huge slab of carrot cake. Where did they set it? Right in front of her. So Tyreek was like, Gran, why'd you order cake? I have cupcakes. She said, well, I didn't know anything about those cupcakes. I didn't know. Find time to tell me. So she eats half the slab of cake.
I only ate about 2 pieces.
You ate half of that slab, right? So then I said, well, if you were going to eat the cake, you could have given the cupcake back, because of course she still took a cupcake. I said, well, you can give the cupcake back. Well, no, I can eat this cupcake with my medicine when I take my medicine. Now, who takes medicine with a cupcake? And see, it was in that moment that I thought about the conversation that you and I had earlier that day. It's like, you know what, Craig? You can't be responsible for her health and her well-being. Like, you can only give the information and then if a person receives it or they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't, but sometimes I feel like I burden myself. I think that might be too strong of word to say. I don't really feel like I burden myself, but I think sometimes I kind of take it on. And it's like as soon as I learn something, it's almost like I want to share it
right,
with her.
because you feel responsible.
Right.
If you like, oh, I know this will save her. She'll be
Right.
with me longer.
Yes.
I want her to stay with me.
Right. So let me show her how to do this. And
Yeah.
that's just like that shea butter that she just took from me. I really didn't want to give it to her because I feel like you just going to ask her, but you really ain't going to use it. I'm going to come up here. That container going to be sitting upstairs and it's going to be the same amount of shea butter in it. It's just like I have a steamer. I got a steamer. I steam a lot of my veggies and food and stuff like that at home. Juliet, she talked about it for oh my God, I sure wouldn't mind having a steamer. I mean, for weeks, every time we got on the phone, she would talk about it. Oh, I would love to have a steamer. Oh, I would really do my veg. I would eat more veggies if I had a steamer. Ask her how many times she used her steamer.
He bought you one.
No,
One of my people got her one.
Ain't that something?
One of my people, Dr. Young, sent her a steamer. Ask her how many times she used that steamer. Go ahead, ask her.
Dr. Young's gonna have her feelings hurt.
Dr. Young already know. I already
Juliet.
told Dr. Young. Now ask Gladys
Don't
how many
ask
times
Juliet.
But you're gonna start using
I'm
it,
sorry.
right?
she has not used that steamer one time. Ask her how long she's had it. We're coming up on a year. Don't even worry about asking. It's coming up on a year.
Now, how'd you get off of this?
I don't know how we got to this, but
one
guess what?
child?
But all of this is necessary. But I'm just like that. She asked and asked and asked. That's just like we were in a store the other day. Cause you know she got gout in her hand now, but she took a medication. You know, I guess it's subsided now.
Yeah.
But
You
I was,
gotta go?
girl.
You don't tell me these things, Gladys.
She don't tell me either. So join the club.
Oh.
So I was over in DC, and you know I was in this store, and they had this CBD cream. You know, which is CBD.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the CBD cream, and so I was with Dr. Young, and she said, you should get some of this for Gladys. Because Dr. Young tried some on her finger. She has like a little pain, because Dr. Young is a podiatrist. And so she gets a little cramp in her hand, sometimes her finger or whatever. So she put some on her finger. She said, Craig, I feel it already. She said, it's helped my finger already. You should get some of this for your mother's hand. Girl, that cream was about $60. I said, girl, I ain't getting that cream. I said, that cream be over on the counter. You think I'm going to spend my money and she going to have it on the counter? No.
Well, I use that medicine that
Tonette,
sent me.
I had
It's
to
a
ask her to
liquid,
use that.
Well, you could still go get the cream. They probably have somewhere.
Girl, I ain't buying that cream. Anyway.
Well, I wanted to ask you, how did you end up with your niece? But
Oh, yeah, that's what
podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So how'd you
just
end up with your
quick-
niece?
Just quick. My niece was having, delinquent problems with her mother. She was fighting her mother. And
How old is she?
she's 15 now.
How old was she when you got her?
She turned 15 in February. I think I got her February 1st.
So she's your brother's
She's my brother's daughter. So they, so her mother has mental illness. And so she was fighting her mother. And so instead of her going into foster care, because I used to take care of her when she was a baby, so then she started to come with me. I told them, the foster care people said, can you take her? And I said, yes. So I had her. And I have had her now for 6 months, no fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But I handle it differently.
What?
Some of the stuff her mother went through, I went through with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I handle it differently. I give her respect. I don't argue. We set ground rules from the beginning when she came in. Don't fight me. Don't beat me up. I can't fight. Don't talk back.
You told her that?
Yes, don't talk back, and we will get along just fine. If I say something that you don't like, let's talk about it later. But please do what I ask you to do, and we'll talk about it later. And she does that.
Right. And she's
So
doing well
how
in
come
school.
she didn't go to her dad?
Because she was fighting him too. When he would go over there to help the mother,
She would fight him
she
too.
fought him too.
So, do you think it's maybe because she was acting out because her mom has mental illness, and maybe she was either embarrassed, maybe she just didn't know how to cope.
Her mom
maybe.
has mental illness where she's depressed, or she's got like 6 kids, and the older kids have to take care of the younger kids. Well, this girl wasn't doing it. She was the youngest of the older kids, and she's like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And then they would battle and argue, and then the girl wanted attention, and then she would go see boys and things.
So,
like
do you
that.
get any financial assistance for her from her parents?
Right now, no, I do not. I should be getting child support, but I really don't. I think in the whole 6 months, I've only gotten $200. And then her mother, she gets some kind of
Go ahead.
The mother applied for some kind of disability for my niece. That's $200. So she's supposed to give that up. And then they
But she
want me to
doesn't.
go right, and then they want me to go to social services to get some $200 stipend, which I haven't done. I guess $200 is $200. I guess if I did it all at 200, it might add up.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister helps me with her.
Okay.
Yeah, my sister helps. She buys shampoo and all
Like
of those,
toiletries and stuff.
and clothes and
Mhm.
things like that. And then
Oh, well, that's nice.
So did you feel overwhelmed when the prospect of you having to take her in arose? Did you kind of feel like, oh God, here we go?
Well, at first I was like kind of a little overwhelmed. Well, what if she does to me the same thing she did to her mother? And what if she fight me? And what if she's trying to go out with
Right.
boys
Right.
and want to be in places that she shouldn't be in?
Mm-hmm.
But that hasn't happened.
Does she have a cell phone?
I just bought her one because she passed to the 10th grade.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, you got to be off the phone by 12.
Mm-hmm.
She works in my sister's store, so when you go to work, don't be doing this all day
Right.
long with the phone and looking at the phone, and she respects that.
Right.
Mhm.
So, because I think a lot of kids, not a lot, kids crave structure. And she obviously wasn't getting structure over at that house, and that's with her mom, and that's probably why she was acting out. But I was going to ask you, I forgot my question because Barbara Walters over there that jumped in with her other question. But I was going to ask you, I don't remember what I was
Well,
going to
I
ask
do
you.
have a question.
Look, here she go.
Do you
My co-host.
think your
That
do
would
your
be-
children seem to be jealous
Oh, that's a good question.
No.
of
No,
That you're raising
having
these other
those
kids?
2 kids?
no.
Okay. So,
No.
Jermaine, right?
Jermaine actually, we found out today that my niece plays the violin.
Hmm.
So my oldest son, Jermaine, went over to her house this morning and got her violin.
Oh, okay.
And that was nice.
Yeah, that was nice of him.
I know I was going to ask you. I think that it's great that you took her in because she very well could have become a ward of the state. And like there's this show on Netflix called My Next Guest Requires No Introduction, something like that. David Letterman is the host, and Tiffany Haddish was a guest on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time that I actually watched an interview with her that I, for the most part, enjoyed it. Because I feel like a lot of times she deflects when she has serious conversations about her upbringing, her childhood.
She starts to joke about
She
it.
jokes about it, and then and to me, I think it's a teachable moment that she loses or misses out on. Not just for other kids that are in foster care, but for the way that foster cares are run or operated. Like she really could give insight on that when she's on these major platforms giving these interviews. But a lot of times she'll start deflecting and she'll just start joking about certain things. And I'm like, girl, this is a teachable moment. Like this is an opportunity really to save
Right.
people and to
Right.
really restructure the
Right.
foster care system. But she did a really good interview with David Letterman, and you know, with this show, they interview in an auditorium, but then they also go like in her house. They went to her house and they met some of her family members. And she talked, and I know part of her story, but she talks about how she was homeless for a little while,
Right.
and you know, she was in and out of foster care systems. And I always wondered, because watching this particular interview, there was a face to other family members. Like there were other family members that they introduced the audience to. And I said, well, where were these people when she was in foster care?
Right.
Where were these people when she was sleeping in her car? You know what I'm saying? So I thought about that just now with you, like with your niece. Like she very well could have ended up in some sort of a foster care or something if you had not stepped up.
Right.
You know,
She
but
would have.
I believe
Because her mother, they refused to go pick her up from the hospital. She spent the whole summer in the hospital.
What was she in the hospital for?
Because when she was fighting, she does have depression.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was fighting and she couldn't calm down, they called the police. They took her and they took her to Shepherd Pratt,
Mm-hmm. Which is a mental psychiatric hospital.
Right. But you know who else Tiffany Haddish reminds me of? Do you know Essie Berry?
I know that name. How do I know that name?
She's the one that used to be Rerun's
Mm-hmm.
wife.
Oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she is the one that's on YouTube about Steve Harvey fussing, about how dirty he is and what all he did to his wife. And
I didn't follow that part. I didn't know that.
so every day she is posting on. So I did a little research on her. She's posting on YouTube every day about Steve Harvey, and she's kind of a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's true. But now she really needs to move on with that.
Right.
But she some years ago put on YouTube how she was abused and beaten by her mother every day, and her mother didn't feed them and her kids. It was awful what she went through. It was awful, and that reminded me of Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, because Tiffany Haddish's mom has mental illness, still suffers from it, and she takes care of her today. But she used to beat her.
Her mom has schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, she was in a car accident, and it messed her up.
See, a lot of times, and this is what I've learned with working with people with schizophrenia, you can go through a trauma in your life, such as a car accident, such as a
rape,
a pregnancy, a rape, a pregnancy where you go in labor, and it can trigger the schizophrenia. You always have it.
Yeah.
Not everybody that has it, but people who are going to get it have it.
Yeah, and there's some sort of a trauma that activates it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, listen, I think this was a really good conversation. I think that, somebody will benefit from it. Again, the reason that I wanted to do it was because it's very common. And then hopefully, somebody who's out there who's really having a difficult time will hear this and maybe will change the way that they are, because, again, sometimes people are really mean because they're exhausted. And, and I really do think that in some cases, depression, not in some cases. I think depression is a form of mental illness. What I was going to say was I think in some cases it's brought about because of financial stress. In a lot of cases. It's something to be said about people, marginalized people.
Right, but there's different types of depression.
Yes.
There's depression when you get depressed because of financial stress, because of whatever stresses you going on in your life. Then there's depression where people call it where you're in a deep dark hole.
Yes.
And you can't get out.
Yeah.
And you can't get out of bed, and you can't go.
That's
to
like
work.
a mental exhaustion.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's a different depression.
Yeah.
It's different. So, and a lot of times you come out of it when you're depressed for whatever's going on in your life, you come out of it. But when you don't get treatment for it, you can die.
Yeah.
If you don't get treatment for real deep down dark depression, you could just lay there and just wither away.
Well, I've heard stories about James Baldwin because I know someone who knew him and a couple people who knew him. They're older than me, obviously, but she was saying to me that, because I said to her, well, how did he die? And she was like, I really believe that he died from loneliness, extreme loneliness. But I wanted to do this conversation because, again, I think that sometimes, how you see people in the grocery store and you'll see these grandmothers and they cussing at these little kids and they frustrated. It's not always just because of ignorance. Sometimes they are just so overwhelmed and they don't know how to go about it a different way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so if you have people in your family or friends that that are raising kids, try to give them a little break. You know what I'm saying? Try to give them a little reprieve. Like, you just never know.
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes offer the babysit.
Hey, is there anything I can do for you? I know you had to step in and take care of such and such as kids, but... hey, I just got your little gift certificate so you get your little manicure. I'll keep the kids for...
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just something thoughtful. Just try to put yourself in that position. But it's hard, you know what I'm saying?
Just having time alone in the house makes a difference sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but anyway, thank you for listening to this podcast. This has been so much to say. We're available for free.
Joe, you got anything to add?
I'm trying to do the closing and she inviting somebody else to add in. Well, Joe, did you want to say
I
something?
just think, he's playing a pivotal role in their lives.
Joe, did you want to say something, Joe?
Joe, you want to say something?
Joe said he didn't want to say anything.
He's shy, but once he get going, if he was to get going, he would really have something thought-provoking to say. But he's just real shy and quiet.
Right.
Joe, last chance.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. We're available for free on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, wherever you can listen to a podcast. Please hit the share and subscribe button. It is free. Be safe. Keep loving yourself.
Don't forget to donate.
Girl, donate to what? Let me see if that. I don't even think I caught that. Oh no, it cut off right before you said it.
You know it.
Oh, that Juliet. Don't forget.
Don't forget to donate. Thank you. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Carolette, that's my girlfriend that
Have they been putting in comments?
Yeah, they've been in here talking. That's my girlfriend that's been doing the celery juice. Carolette, you said you've been doing it for like 3 or 4 months, right? Wasn't that you that messaged me over on Patreon? Because Juliet hasn't started doing her celery juice yet. And I want you to share with Juliet some of those benefits.
Can you see?
Oh. Where's Rita? Awesome, Craig enjoyed this.
Yes, Carolette, can you because she said she's been doing it for like 3 or 4 months. And I hadn't started announcing, so she was doing it at her own volition. Like I hadn't even started talking about it that long ago. So I really wanted to kind of get an idea of like.
Well, Tanya would have some information too, because she's been on it for what?
Tonette says she's been doing it like 6 or 8 years. But see, the thing is, Tonette is raw vegan, so I don't know
So
if
she
would.
don't have any health issues.
Right, so I don't know if she would really notice
Right.
something. You know what I'm saying? Because she's already on.
But I don't think she have any health issues like diabetes. Or
No.
high blood pressure, cholesterol.
What this thing? When I was raising my nieces and nephew, my church family was extremely helpful in helping me out because I didn't or don't have children, and it was a stressful time. I had 6 children, teenagers. Oh my.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, why you got to do your mouth like that when you're trying to read?
I don't know. I think it's the glasses. I need some better glasses. And the squinting. It's the squinting.
Oh, is that what? Oh. So,
Joe, y'all going to Virginia next weekend for the holiday?
No, we're going to the assembly.
Oh, okay. Where's it going to be?
what's this? Are you still a practicing Jehovah's Witness?
Yes, I am.
She's sitting over here talking about black shit, white shit.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Not the way she was twerking on there
Did you?
last week.
You were
She
twerking
was working that out of her
You were
little niece.
on your Facebook?
it was all in fun. We were just having fun. Just a little dancing. That's all. Just shaking the bacon, the bones get loose.
We need to share this on your Facebook.
Yeah, I want to share this on my Facebook.
I was gonna say something to you.
Look, she said, Craig, Rita's on. Hi, Rita.
Them cigarettes. She's
Craig is always talking. You gotta
She's-
go in the closet.
because if I don't say anything, she wears me out.
Rita, you gotta go in the closet and smoke your cigarettes, because Craig
She
just...
uses those. She smokes those Benson and Hedges. She does.
Okay.
You know that's what my mother used to smoke.
Did you, Glenn?
She did my hi.
Hi, Rita.
Yeah, we're about to get off here now.
So, Juliet, you going to do the celery challenge?
Yep.
You got a juice
I'm
already?
gonna get one
What time do you have to be to work in the morning?
when I get there.
Oh, well then you have no excuse. You need to be making your
I'm gonna
juice.
do it.
She said she trying to stop.
I know, Rita.
Smoke.
And I go to
Just
Aldi's.
work on it, baby.
I went to Aldi's to get some celery. It's like $1.79 or $1.59, something like that.
Deanna Drayton said, hi, mine. Tiffany Smith Bell, tell me, Craig, you tell all our business. Tiffany used to be in here complaining about she has headaches, but she used to be eating pork rinds. I'm like, girl, put them pork rinds down, girl. Okay, so Carolette said, I don't know, I'm trying to get to her comment. Okay, Carolette said, yes, I did it faithfully for 2 months and still at least every other day now. It will change your life, niece. Drink it and live. Yes. So that's what I was saying to them too. And I was having this conversation with, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody. I was talking to Lori Jeter today at the brunch. I was telling her that I'm going to do the celery for this next 30 days. But then I may not keep doing it like every day. You know what I'm saying? And what I may do is just probably do it like once every few months. And I'll maybe do it for like a week.
Once every few months.
Is it a cleanser?
It's not a cleanser. It just basically, it just purifies it clears the toxins out of your body. And so it's really good for cancer, dementia, brain fog, fibromyalgia, fibroids, everything you can think of. Girl, everything is on there except for HIV/AIDS. Okay. And Alzheimer's, dementia, like it has a lot of things. It's preventative. And like from the people that have been doing it with me, like I got a message, like I get messages all of the time about this in particular. And like one of the people messaged me the other day and was saying how she said she drinks coffee faithfully every morning. She said, Craig, I forgot to drink coffee a couple times this week. She said, because I drank that celery juice in the morning and didn't even have the desire for the coffee. She said now about 2 o'clock, she got on those 2 days that she forgot to drink it, she had a headache. She said if I could just figure out how to not get that headache, but I just think that's her body reacting to not having the caffeine. Exactly. The headache's gonna go away. And I messaged her to tell her that. But the headache is gonna go away. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, so what I think I'm going to do is, I don't know how often I'm going to do it after I do this 30 days, but it's going to be something that I'll continue to incorporate. So even if it's just something that I do maybe when the weather's about to change to warm. So like maybe after the winter, I'll do it again when it's about to be spring to do like a cleanse, and I'll do it for 30 days. Right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how often I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it now. But see, that's the thing. When I came off the meat, I didn't know how long I was going to come off. You know what I'm saying? But now I can't even imagine. And I look at food, I look at meat sometimes, I'm like, oh, that looks good. But I'm never like, oh my God, I want to try that. Like, it's never like that. But I'm at the point now where I feel so much better not having it that I can't even imagine going back to eat it because I don't want to. Right. I don't want to experience that. So the same thing with the celery juice. After 30 days, I'm sure I'm going to notice something. I noticed my knee. I don't have that tingle in my knee. So, I mean, I may keep doing it. I don't know. The juicer is Rita Jacobs. Rita Jacobs. I like the juicer better for the celery because it's quicker and it strains it. Like with the juicer, you only need one bunch of celery. With the blender, with that Vitamix, I have to use 2 bunches to get a full glass. But that juicer gets all of that juice out of one bunch.
And you don't have to chop it up.
And I don't have to chop it up. You can just put it in there. I mean, you clean it still and take the leaves off. But then all you got to do is put that girl in there and she just get the, it's quick. So I like the juicer. Because remember I told you guys I was going to buy the juicer just for while I was here and I was going to return it to the store. But I've decided that I'm going to keep it.
You're going to keep it here or you're going to take it home with you?
What you going to ship it?
I think I'm going to send it back down there. I think I'm going to ship it back down there. Yeah. I think I'm going to send it back. Because I need to send like this stuff because like, Lori got me this stuff. I can't carry this on the plane. Yeah. So this is too much liquid. So I'm going to ship that back. I'm just going to ship it. That's what I'll do. But yeah, the juicer, it makes it so much easier. It really does. And I'll just use the Vitamix for my smoothies and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I put that stuff in there and it blends it up and and I can go. Okay. But yeah. But all right, we about to get off of here. Oh, hey, Avriel. My mother said hi. Avriel said hi.
Hi, Avriel.
That's Avriel Duvernay.
I hope she got a show.
Not Ava.
Wendy talking about, not Ava. I thought you were going to think that. Look at Wendy Newman talking about, no, I admit I don't drink a full glass and I don't do it every day. Y'all something else, I tell y'all. Y'all know y'all love to have stuff.
That's what I told Gladys. I said, why don't you just drink 4 ounces?
Right.
Just enough to get the toxins out.
Well, what I was doing was eating 2 stalks of celery.
But that's
But that's all the dietitian told me I can have a day.
well, I would
Because
use
they have a
it.
lot of water in it.
Oh. Sorry, y'all. But see, that's the thing when you're on dialysis, you got to monitor how much fluid you take in.
Right.
You can't even drink all of the water you want. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's something to think about. Rita McBride, as she's holding a Benson and Hedge, sitting there watching us, because I know she got one. She's sitting there. Yeah. She's sitting there holding one right now. All right, listen, you guys have. Oh, I need to do my little drop for. Hold on, let me save this real quick because I need to do this little drop for this promo video that I'm doing. I'm gonna do this real quick while we on here. What did I say I was gonna call this podcast? Someone Else's Child. And then I'm gonna do this little drop. And then I'm gonna send this over. Cause I'm doing a promo for new. Save. And let me see what he wanted me to put in here.
A promo for who?
I'm doing a promo to promote the second book. I'm gonna put it out. Okay. Let me do this real quick. Do y'all think y'all can be quiet for about 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Oh, so you gotta walk first? You want me to wait for you to finish walking?
No, I'm gonna be quiet.
Here she go. Let me let her get upstairs. Exactly, Nicoya. Exactly. Nicoya said, but also be mindful that the doctors are not always in it for the cure. Sometimes it might be worth the try. Go ahead and get you some celery juice.
You got to work tomorrow.
I messed up pretty good today.
Oh, okay. That's good.
All right, I'm about to do this. To hear more of words, this ain't words never spoken. Hold on, sorry. To listen to more of One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, a memoir continued, visit audible.com. Let me see. To listen to more of One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, a memoir continued, visit audible.com. Yeah, that was.
Is that
To
it?
Yeah. Let's see. Audible.com. To listen to more of One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, a memoir continued, visit audible.com.
Have you ever put a garden in that where you live? Too much work.
You'll see the promo video soon. Please.
My neighbor, she put in some peppers.
Save as.
Tomatoes. My neighbor. And a couple things. I put some herbs back there.
Juliet, you can walk. I'm done.
But they just
She trying to tip down the steps.
I don't know. I think they probably look cleaner than what they actually are. Because when Trout
I'm
do it,
walking on it with no shoes on and I ain't got nothing on my feet.
well, she be.
I didn't turn y'all off. All right, listen, you guys have an amazing day. I will talk to you soon.
Her feet be dirty
Bye.
by the time she finished.